You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another movie review. Today I'll be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 2, in yet another strange instance of Corbin was right and I was very, very wrong. The only other time I can think of on record that this has happened is Fallout, but maybe there's other cases. I don't know. Point is, Corbin was absolutely right about Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Now, in the past, I had said that I liked all of the original Nightmare on Elm Street series except for 2. And my reasoning behind it, when looking back, is kind of fucking retarded. Because originally, I criticized it for not having enough Freddy, which it has plenty of Freddy, I don't know what I was on about, and for not connecting to the first and third, which again, doesn't really matter. It's a slasher movie, and also isn't entirely true, because it has Nancy's journal, and obviously it's continuing Freddy's story, so how doesn't that connect? I don't know. I was stupid. I also tried to criticize the acting and stuff, which again, it's a slasher movie, and also it's nowhere near as bad as I remember. The acting was fine. I don't know what the fuck I was on about back in those days. But Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, was obviously the first sequel to A Nightmare on Elm Street. And the movie is very good. It does something very different than the rest of the sequels, and that's something that I really like about it, and it's actually swiftly become one of my favorites. And the reason it's become one of my favorites is because of just how different of a take on Freddy it is. Rather than just going and attacking people in their dreams, Freddy begins possessing someone's body to kill and get a physical form in that way. In addition to this, Freddy is also able to affect the physical world with some sort of telekinetic powers or demonic powers. It really builds on Freddy and makes him much more of a threat than just in your sleep. Because in this movie, Freddy's influence is slowly growing over the main protagonist, a guy named Jesse, and we'll get to him a little more later when we discuss one aspect I think people are wrong about, but I get why. But another thing that this movie did better than the other sequels is it stayed true to its horror roots. Don't get me wrong, I love the fun, wacky stuff in the later sequels, but this was the only other one besides the first and New Nightmare that actually tried to stay scary in the original series. Freddy has cool red eyes, the knives come out of his fingers when he takes over Jesse's body, and the idea of something evil possessing your body is fucking horrifying. Just imagine that someone else gains control of your body and goes on a killing spree. It's fucking scary. Now let's talk about the few minor criticisms I do have of the second movie. Again, it doesn't connect to 1 and 3. That is no longer a criticism. I think that is a stupid criticism I had, because I think that it is great on its own, and it doesn't need to connect so directly. Even so, it still takes place in Nancy's house, which, again, it's odd that they give Nancy's house such significance when she was literally just one of Freddy's victims. I think it's really weird that her house becomes so prominent in the sequels. Another thing that's a little odd is they have, like, a factory that Freddy worked at, apparently, or something, when I'm pretty sure he worked in the school, and the boiler room was at a school, so what's the significance of this factory exactly? I don't know. But, again, it's a minor thing. It's really not that big a deal. Slashers are always loaded with inconsistencies. Really, I didn't find anything wrong with the movie this time around. I had a lot of fun with it. So let's talk about the fan theory I briefly mentioned earlier that I think is just wrong, but I can see why people think it. People often say that Nightmare on Elm Street 2 represents him repressing his gay desires, and that's what Freddy represents. And I never really got that vibe. I can see why, because there are a couple of scenes in particular that are really, really fucking gay. Like the scene where he's cleaning his room, super gay. But, like, the scene where he goes down to the gay bar, a lot of people use that as an example of him actually being gay. That's why he went down there to get with his teacher. And I questioned it, too, this time around. I'm like, wait, why the fuck is he there again? But when I thought about it, I'm like, Freddy made him go there because he knew the teacher was gay, and he's using it to lure the teacher to a place where he can kill him. It's not that the guy was gay for the teacher, it's that Freddy was luring the teacher so he could kill him. Now, I realize some people could say that this leans into the gay desire thing, but I've always looked at it as much more literal of Freddy just killing him and using the fact that the teacher was gay and probably had the hots for him to his advantage to get him to kill him. Now, what I think Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is actually a representation of is the shadow self, and dealing with the shadow self, and how everyone has a dark side. And I think if it represents anything symbolically, I think Freddy represents the shadow self. And I suppose one could make the argument that homosexuality ties into that, but I just didn't get that vibe. In fact, there is a female love interest, and a lot of people say, oh, he's fighting himself to not be in love with a chick or something. He goes with her at the end, he tells her he loves her. It's pretty clear she was set up as a love interest, and I just don't think the gay angle is what they were going for. I think the cleaning his room thing was just really 80s and was kind of a Marty McFly kind of knockoff sort of thing. And I think that the gay bar scene is the only one you can really make the argument with, but again, I think that was Freddy's influence using an opportunity to lure the teacher to a place where he could kill him without witnesses. And another thing is this whole gay narrative has come to try and say it supports homosexuality, which, if that's really the angle they were going for, wouldn't it be an anti-gay movie? Because it's literally Freddy Krueger killing people that would be the gay thing in that scenario, and he goes with the chick at the end, and him getting with the chick wins in this hypothetical interpretation of it. So again, I just don't see it. I think that people are wrong. I think that the movie is about the shadow self, and I think that the gay stuff can easily be explained if you pay attention to the movie itself. The teacher is absolutely gay. That's why Freddy went down to the bar and lured him out of there with Jesse, who he knew the teacher probably had the hots for. But yeah, in conclusion, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is probably my favorite of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels now, ironically. I think I prefer the first movie over it, and I haven't rewatched 4 in this current marathon, but in the past 4 was my favorite, so 4 might still be, but we'll see. I'll rewatch it once we get to that in the marathon, which will probably continue this Saturday. Another side note is I actually didn't enjoy Nightmare on Elm Street 3 as much this time around, so that's another thing that I found odd. Like, granted, I always thought it was kind of overrated. People always say Dream Warriors is the best. But I felt even less invested in it this time. Like, the kills were still good, and I still enjoyed it quite a bit, but I definitely was less invested than 1 and 2. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is a great movie. I don't know what the hell I was thinking in the past. That's all I really have to say. This has been Fugitive Red Eye. Have a good one. Toodles.